Welcome back, everyone. We are here today with our first Cabral HouseCall of the weekend, answering your questions each and every weekend. All things wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, health coaching, all those great topics related to this amazing field of health, wellness, weight loss, and anti-aging. So excited to dive into your questions as always. Remember, all these questions are answered on a first come, first serve basis. And this first one coming in from Anonymous is from January 5th. So this particular show, episode 1849, if you'd like to read along with the questions, you can absolutely do that by going to stephencabral.com/1849. This is coming out on February 27th. So again, about that 6 weeks behind. That seems about right. And that's typically where it is. So again, if you asked your question before January 5th, it has been answered already. And you can go to those previous house calls just at stephencabral.com/podcast. Okay, let's get right into our questions. I'm really committed. I really am to answering a dozen of your questions, our community's questions every single weekend. It's something that I love to do and certainly keeps me in touch with our community on a weekly basis. So first things first, first question is from Anonymous saying, thank you for taking the time out of your busy day to answer our questions. It means so much to get answers to health questions from a trusted source. On occasion, I've noticed that my stool is light green color. When this happens, it typically lasts for a few days before returning to more normal, darker color. I'm trying to trace the source to dietary reasons, and I'm not sure if the increased fats or improperly digesting fats could be the cause. Please let me know if you could be the potential Please let me know what you think could be the potential causes for lighter colored stool. And if you have any recommendations, thank you, Dr. Cabral. Anonymous, appreciate the question. And I'm actually going to head on over to stephencabral.com/podcasts. And I've definitely answered this question before, but I want to see if it's searchable. So type in green stool. Let's just see if green stool comes up in that search box. All right. So I just typed it in. And it looks like, I'm going to go way back to the shows. Oh, definitely many shows. Let's put this in quotations, because quotations will allow us to narrow down the shows that are only mentioned exactly as green stool. And again, not exactly when we do green stool. All right, so good. We're going to title this green stool, and we're going to give you that answer. Why would someone have green stool? Okay, the main reason for green stool is typically going to be, as you mentioned, poor digestion of fats, but, and more namely, it could be caused from faster bowel transit time. So what I mean by that is this. So our body will drop bile from our liver into the first part of that small intestine, okay? We call that the duodenum, and that's the first part where the stomach attaches to your small intestine, and then basically the first 10 inches or so is the duodenum. Now, we get bile that drops down there, which is greenish in color, and the reason that happens is to break down and emulsify fats. Now, if it does its job, it helps to break down, rip open all those fats and make it a lot easier to absorb all of those nutrients from fats. But let's say that your bowels were moving a little faster. You ate some foods that had hot sauces or spices, and you weren't used to them, and the bowel transit time took less than, let's say, 12 hours from when you ate to as it comes out of your body through your stool. So if that happens and the bile did not get a chance to be reabsorbed, then the bile will actually show up more in the stool when it's in the toilet. So that means that you'll get more of a green-based color. So that's a very likely scenario. So then you just have to ask yourself, what did I eat differently? What did I take that was different that may have sped up that bowel transit time? And maybe you just had an upset stomach. You were sick for whatever reason, and that does happen. You caught a little bit of a virus or a bug, and it happens, right? So, but also the fat absorption. If people dramatically do increase their fats or their oils, and their body's not able to keep up with that, that could be one potential issue as well. That there are other reasons for sure, but those are the most typical reasons I see in my practice. All right, good question, Anonymous. Valeria is up next. Valaria. Hi, Dr. Cabral. My question is about COVID-19 and the rising numbers of deaths here in the United States. I know there are a lot of factors that cause the widespread of COVID, but I want to know what you think is the real reason why there are so many deaths in the U.S. compared to other countries. My grandfather has been in the hospital with COVID and pneumonia for nearly a week now. Do you think COVID deaths are a result of many people not wearing masks, not social distancing in public places, people's individual immune systems not being able to fight the virus? Or is it the hospital conditions such as low-staffed and overpacked hospitals, not enough supplies, lack of individual care and attention to detail? Just by hearing my grandpa is going through the hospital, he's at, I think it's the latter. Both of my grandpa and my grandma actually got COVID, but my grandma recovered fine. It didn't have extreme symptoms. They both followed the rules and wore their masks, but in their age, their 80s, maybe it was inevitable. Thank you for reading, and thank you for all your work and research you're doing. Valeria, thank you for the question. And you know that if you ask the question, you're going to get an unbiased answer from me. And well, there's a couple things, and I just talked about them on my Tuesday show, so you probably checked that out. But it was the truth about COVID antibody testing and long-term immunity. And for the United States to have about 500,000, the case, I think it was around actually 500,000 deaths compared to the second closest country was Brazil, and it's in the low 200,000s. There's an issue with tracking and statistics. So you can't be someone that believes in statistics and probability and math and all these things and say, how would it be that a country like the United States, with the greatest conventional medicine and integrative based approaches in the world, has twice as many deaths as the next closest country? And by the way, the United States is not one of the largest countries. Excuse me. The United States is not one of the largest countries in the world. Yes, we're a large country, but not anywhere considerably near some of the much larger countries that have much less deaths and much less cases. The difference is in how we classify them as well. And this is not conspiracy at all. This is what the United States actually said. Anyone that dies with COVID is considered a COVID-based case, where that's not the same for other countries. So the statistics are just, we're not playing by the same rules as other countries. Now, there is no rule, right? So this is what the United States has decided to do. They count essentially all flu-based cases as COVID-based cases. For deaths, all of those things were, keep in mind that the flu is just as deadly as COVID, and it causes pneumonia as well. The issue is just like you're talking about. People in their 80s are much more susceptible, and we don't always know who it's going to be, just as you saw between your grandmother and your grandfather. But we do know that heart conditions and high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes and obesity are all factors, anything with a great inflammatory-based issue. So I don't think that it's masks. I think that people are wearing masks just as much in the United States as they are in other countries. We like to think that we're sometimes always worse. I know that in other countries, they don't even have access to masks like we do. In India, you don't have access to a lot of things, the same things. So, do I believe that people in their 80s should absolutely be wearing masks? 100%, without a doubt. It just makes sense, right? But you have to wear an N95 mask to really get the full benefits. So what's really going on? Well, I think the smoke is to clear. I think we need to get some real studies done about what percentage of people that died from COVID, the actual death was from COVID itself. I think that's important for people to know. It doesn't, I think denigrate the person's life themselves. They either died from cancer, or they died from something else, or they died from COVID. And again, I don't have any dog in the race. I think it's important for future generations, even 100 years from now, like the great Spanish flu, is that people know 100 years ago, what were the real statistics? And I'm very, very, I am a big believer in the truth. So we need to get that out. And I think at the beginning, the use of ventilators, they were just turned up too high, and that was causing deaths as well. That was not a good thing, of course, but now we know that. And we've got great treatment protocols. And again, I lay out those treatment protocols in episode 1810. So Valeria, I don't know yet for sure, but we'll continue to keep you updated, and hopefully that was helpful. Kate's up next. I try to eat intuitively, and I only eat when truly hungry. I'm a pitta body type, but with a very small frame. And once I learned to stop emotional eating, my weight just fell off, and now I'm at the lowest end of the healthy weight for my height. My question for you is this. I've listened to all your podcasts about meal timing, intermittent fasting, and have tried to make changes, but simply don't get hungry early in the morning. I eat dinner at 5:30, and I don't get hungry usually until around 11 or 12 a.m. I obviously don't want to get too catabolic metabolic though. So is it okay to continue to just eat in the morning when truly hungry, or should I force myself to eat even when not? Yeah, it's a great question. I actually did a podcast about this many years ago on intuitive eating. I'm not an advocate of intuitive eating. For most people. Now, I'm an advocate of intuitive eating once your body's truly balanced and healthy. Here's why. Anyone that is typically anemic or low iron, they have a very low appetite. Anybody with low stomach acid, oftentimes low appetites. Anybody with a lot of inflammation or their body's fighting a virus, typically very low appetite. And I could go on and on. And the reason is that your body's conserving energy to work on other issues. And that's really important to understand that. The other thing is that, and now I get it, like you don't want to do emotional-based eating. I completely agree as well. But we have to be very careful with intuitive eating. We know that the human body needs a certain amount of macronutrients, which are carbs, protein, and fiber. But people also overlook and greatly overlook micronutrients, which are your vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, etc. I find it extremely easy to get the macronutrients in 1 or 2 meals a day. I find it extremely difficult to get the micronutrients in 1 or 2 meals a day. So it's just so challenging. How do you get in 7 to 9 servings of fruits and vegetables when you eat twice a day? Very, very challenging. It can be done, but just really, really diligent about getting 3 to 4 cups of vegetables at each meal. And then you have to worry about food combining. You really can't eat fruit with a meal. It should be really separate or put into a smoothie so that everything is turned into a liquid for digestion. So what I would say is, Kate, is that you're obviously, if you're a Pitta body type, you have to be careful because your digestion should be strong. So I would say, what's going on with your digestion? Do you have H. pylori? Do you have anemia? I don't know, right? Because I can't provide you with a diagnosis or treatment protocol for sure on this podcast. But a compromise might be eating, well, here's the thing too. You have to understand is that when the human body doesn't get used to eating at a certain time, it adapts to that. But when you start to do something light, like maybe just some fruit to start your day, and again, I'm a big believer in intermittent fasting. So you could just do some fruit to start your day, or a smoothie would be even better to keep your blood sugar levels balanced because you'll get your good protein and fiber and everything in there. And you might do that at 8 o'clock in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning. Then you might do your lunch at 12:31. And then you might still do your dinner at 5:30. So nothing dramatic has changed except a smoothie in the morning with something like the daily nutritional support, or ideally the daily foundational protocol level 2 or level 3. And then that's going to get you all your nutrients for the day. And in that smoothie, you can put in 1 or 2 cups of berries or fruit. And now it's easy. Now it's easy to meet your micronutrients as well as your protein. I mean, you're going to have to eat 30, 40 grams of protein at lunch and dinner. And for your body, you might be better at doing 20 grams at a meal, 25. So, Kate, that's where I'm at. And hopefully this was helpful, at least something to think about, right? Something to just kind of keep your mind open to. And then, of course, you'll find what works best for you. Megan's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. Asking for a friend who suffers from severe nasal polyps. He was told that he likely breathed in a spore through the environment that started it. He can no longer breathe in through his nose. He lost his sense of taste and even had surgery, which fixed the problem for 6 months, and then it grew back. Could this be mold in his home? And do you believe he can fully heal from this? What would you recommend? His quality of life is diminished and would love to help him find the relief. Thank you so much for your ongoing commitment to this work. If it doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you, Megan. Appreciate that. And I'm sorry to hear about your friend. So nasal polyps can be caused by many different reasons. Certainly it could be environmental. There's no doubt about that. But there's essentially inflammation. And I'm skeptical, of course, but I don't believe this inflammation is most likely local for your friend to his nasal passages. I believe his nasal passages are most likely his Achilles heel, just like my eyes are my Achilles heel for allergies and inflammation and all sorts of different things. And that's okay. We can all have our Achilles heel. We just have to keep it in balance. So, Megan, this is it. I mean, what I would look at, and again, I can't give you a treatment protocol or a cure, but I would do gut testing for sure, like 100%. I would do the Candida metabolic and vitamins test, and I would do the bacteria and parasite stool test. And if I could do one more, I would do the IgG food sensitivity test, because there's probably a lot going on here. Like that's where I look in terms of inflammation. I definitely recommend checking out last Wednesday's show on the gut adipose axis, inflammatory axis. So that's where I would start. I'm always a huge advocate of doing the CBO protocol as needed, then obviously maintaining results, doing the immunity protocol, using proteolytic enzymes, using the nutribiotic nasal spray, 3 sprays in each nostril twice a day. So there's a lot you can do. You can do neti pot rinses. Keep in mind, you're talking about someone that, I call myself Captain Sinus Infection. And that's because I had a half a dozen sinus infections every single winter for about a decade straight until I realized that, wow, this can't continue. I have to do something about it. And luckily, I just don't get sinus infections anymore. I knock on wood, but I feel like I don't need to because we know the underlying root causes of why we get all these sinus infections. So, Megan, hopefully that was helpful. Always happy to do follow-ups as well. Anonymous is up next. And by the way, all my protocols, all my labs, health coaching, everything is available at equi.life. That's equi.life is our website and our online practice. Anonymous is up next. Hey, Dr. Cabral, I've been experiencing some white squiggly things in my urine. Not sure what to even look for when trying to look up previous podcasts. I had an organic acids test done and it showed high oxalates. Could this be related to that? Could it be a buildup of what kidney stones are made of? What should I do? Interested to know what could be causing this too. Many thanks. Interesting. Yeah, I don't think I have any keywords called white squiggly things in urine. But all kidding aside, I'm happy to help with this question. So most likely it's not oxalates, and most likely it's not like calcium oxalates building up, meaning like that's not most likely what the white squiggly things are. However, it very well could be from those things, but in a roundabout kind of way from inflammation. Because I don't know if this is you. Of course, I can't give you a diagnosis, but if this is a male asking, I don't see anything that would say male or female, right? But if this is a male asking, then these could be prostate secretions, okay? So prostate secretions can come about during higher times of inflammation. They can come about with viruses, anything like that. And what happens is the prostate, which is located right below the testes on a male, inside the body, of course, they secrete those prostate secretions through the urethra, and they can come out in the urine as well. So, Anonymous, this could be what you're dealing with. You can just look up prostate secretions and see if this is it. Okay, and then of course you can try to tie this to why they would come about. Okay, and then you'll be able to figure that out. Heidi's up next. Hi, Dr. Cabral. I have had COVID about 9 weeks. I had COVID about 9 weeks ago, and I still haven't recovered my taste or smell. Do you have any recommendations for me? I'm taking all my B vitamins, zinc, vitamin C, vitamin D, etc., but nothing has come back. Heidi, you wrote in on 110, and I gave a podcast on this on, let's just see here, How to Deal with Post-Inflammatory Virus Issues, episode 1776. So Heidi, I would love you to go to stephencabral.com/1776, okay? And I'm going to give you a quick summary. It does seem that some people on the later end, it took me about 3 weeks to get back my taste, and my smell wasn't as bad, but my taste was gone. And I was also nauseous with certain foods, which is weird. My beloved coffee that I love to have 1 cup a day. And I actually, the thought of drinking coffee like nauseated me. And I'm like, no, this is like my one vice in the world, even though it's not really a vice, that I was like, I don't want this taken from me. But eventually it did come back and taste as well. So you need to build up your stores, and you wrote this on 110. It's now it's more than a month later. It's most likely come back for you, Heidi, because it's, for a lot of people, it's 12 to 16 weeks. That's what we see. Again, just like all of our protocols, you need to build back up those stores. Again, I can't provide you with treatment protocols or cures or diagnosis, but I would certainly be using the daily foundational protocol, level 2 or level 3 that we offer at Equilife. And then I would be using the immunity protocol, but the one by Equilife. I don't know anybody else's. I can only speak for Equilife, because you do want to get about 50 milligrams a day of zinc, about 2 to 3 grams a day of vitamin C, your 4,000 to 5,000 IUs of vitamin D, and then of course the whole protocol in there as well. And then sometimes it just takes a little bit of time, but most likely if you haven't recovered, right back again, and then we'll chat. Okay. All right, that looks like let me see if I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 questions answered. Fantastic. right on time. Thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate you. We'll be doing this again tomorrow, so do feel free to tune back in at stephencabral.com/podcast or on YouTube or on iTunes or any of your favorite media players. Thank you so much. Hope you're enjoying your weekend.